Hi guys, welcome back to Fata Morgana. Today we are going to be looking into probably arguably the most interesting part of the chapter yet, if you ask me, the Swordsman's backstory. We saw that ridiculous scene yesterday where he was completely torturing Michelle, and then he was able to be confronted by the nun, and he changed surprisingly much. And it's funny to think about the fact that the nun is the only person out of everybody who could have changed him, but it's totally the case. So, yeah, I think firstly we should just reread this. Oh my god, yeah, this contrast was really cool. I think it's so weird that Gazelle has gone, and I really do wonder what the reasoning behind that is. Yeah, he just has to wait a moment. It is interesting that he thinks this, but obviously Michelle knowing might change something. Keyword might. No guarantee. There's no guarantee in any of this. This could all go really, really wrong for all we know. But there really isn't any way of telling. I think this is so funny. I'm sorry, but this guy is hundreds of years ahead of his time. Yeah, but that's interesting to think about the fact that... I suppose it does kind of make sense in the fact that if he says something as controversial as what he did about them being all con artists, why would you be able to say anything like that to another human being? I suppose Michelle is the best person to say this to, because he's kind of so unreal and so oddly courageous and strong-willed that he doesn't really seem like a human, which is hilarious to think when you realise that he is a human, but he's just obviously somebody who has made a lot of mistakes and somebody who wants to totally advance from said mistakes. But yeah, it's weird. It really is. And I suppose him just refusing to cry as well, and just going through that torture, still keeping true to his wish. Isn't that ironic? It is the total opposite of before. Yeah, but that's really quite interesting. If anything, I think this kind of shows somebody who has had a rough deal in life, because you just don't think that, I suppose, putting salvation into someone can be something another person can do, but it is. I mean... I suppose salvation kind of in this sense means completely freeing somebody of their sins. And I suppose I kind of associate salvation with relief. I don't know, just helping someone overcome something, and that feeling when you've overcome something, and the feeling of safety and the feeling of your stress and worries decreasing. I think any person can do that, but I suppose he's talking more in the religious context, kind of the freeing of somebody's sins, I'd assume. Like the liberating of it, of all of the sins. I don't know. God, this is going to be such an experience. Yeah, I totally see that. I really do wonder what he truly wants. I mean, judging by how surprised he was at Michelle's story, I wouldn't be surprised if he really wanted just to have peace, just like in the previous chapter too. Yeah, and it's just he's in such a bad place that he's kind of treating Michelle as a therapist. Yeah, isn't it interesting that he doesn't really have any idea of what to do himself instinctively, so he kind of uses Gazelle and he uses the person that he totally admires as a means of making his next move, which is quite interesting. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I like that he's honest. He really, really is honest. This is not what I was expecting though, so I really do wonder what his truth about Pauline is. And I really do wonder, I mean, surrounding the murderous intent, sorry, if you think about the murderous intent, could it be something guilt related? But I'm sorry, why would somebody like Yukimasa have guilt? That's like, I don't know, just some random really evil person you can think of just not being evil. I don't know, like some sort of random dictator or something. So the dictator being good, i.e. just not something that's going to happen. So I suppose in a way she is the one person that holds him back from being a total brute and a total maniac. What's better, lies or truth? And that is a very difficult debate. The problem is, it's one of the debates with the worst answer. It depends. I hate that answer, but it's kind of true. It depends is either the worst answer to a question or the best answer. Just depends on the justification and also the strength of it, and I suppose how interesting it is to read about, really. Like the justification of both views. Yeah, but my god, think about how Michelle's going to relate to this. Right, here we go anyway. Who fucking cares? Let's just read this. I'm really excited. So that's a similarity to chapter 2. Okay. I just want to... Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, the Silk Road's the trade route, isn't it? I just want to get a reminder. Dude. Oops, wrong tab. Asian trade routes. Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically a little bit of Europe, a lot of the Middle East, some of Africa as well, like East Africa, like Central East Africa, and there's a bit of China, but not much of it. No Japan either. If anything, it goes just to the end of Japan. That does kind of make sense given Japan's very isolated nature during that time. I forgot when Sakoku actually was a thing, but I think it was until like the 19th century. I forgot what ended it. No, I think it was the Americans. Yeah. I forgot what they did though. I think they forced Japanese culture to divert and to become more varied, but I don't remember the exact details. You know, I might actually read into it. I'm interested now. Yeah. Oh my god, look at this. Wow. What a background. Interesting. I think this is the church. I love the sky. They've done a really good job of the colouring. It looks so unusual as well. And I just love the yellow being so much brighter. And if anything, it kind of looks like you have all of this really dense cloud and then it's just separated by such a sudden change in colour. And then that contrasting with the black as well. That makes a really nice image. I think it looks best when the yellow's really bright. And this just sticks out well. It looks so weird. I mean, you can literally see the pixels in this, and yet it looks so good. It's funny though, you can kind of see the pixels. Anyway. Jesus. I'm surprised. Yeah, fair enough, yeah. Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ. Yep. Very wrong. I just find it scary to think about the fact that whenever you see old buildings that are really defined by heritage, you just can't help but ask, just who built this? And what did they have to go through to build it? And, like, for example, which conditions did they have to go through? That's horrible. That's awful. Please speak in English. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what waylaid means. Right, so I'm assuming, yeah, so stop or interrupt somebody and detain them in conversation or trouble them in some other way. What is he? A caravan? He doesn't mean... I mean, caravans didn't exist then. I don't get what he meant. Oh, right. Okay. A group of people, especially traders or pilgrims, travelling together across a desert in Asia or North Africa. Definitely not caravan related, i.e. the caravans that we know. Yeah, God, that's a horrible thing you don't know. It's honestly impressive that he has survived. I can't imagine him being waylaid in the best of conditions as well. I mean, imagine if he was killed in a desert. God, that must have been terrifying. Oh, yeah, that too, yeah. Oh no, no way. Yeah, probably doing the most inhuman things as possible. Jesus. That is tough. Yeah, I don't blame him. Just kind of like... Yeah. No, he does, to a certain extent. I mean, obviously, Michelle and Amy. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. But the only thing is, it's kind of a contrast with relation to Yukimasa, because obviously in full health, Michelle would have no idea how to overpower her, even though she's a woman. Must be awful. It really must be. I'm honestly surprised he was able to survive. Maybe it was Pauline's involvement. No, it can't be. Can it? Who knows? He's probably just saying, get on track. There's basically all of the trauma. Yeah, fair enough. That must be so horrible. I mean, it's not only isolated, but you have nobody you can relate to, and you're just having everybody around you treating you absolutely horribly. Yeah, fair enough. Fair. That's interesting. Yeah, so I suppose for the same reasons that they did in chapter 2. That's interesting. So I suppose it was kind of... At first, it was a question of... It was not even a question. You would deny what they were saying. But I suppose the more he is treated as a lack of a human being, maybe he just thinks maybe there's a reason for this. And maybe they are genuinely saying something that has sense in it. But that's not the case at all. That really isn't. yeah, fair enough. Oh yeah, I don't blame him, but unfortunately something like this is what makes a killer. Yeah, exactly. It is perfectly reasonable. Yeah. Oh, we're here again. I love this picture so much. This background is amazing. They did such a great job at it. Colour schemes, especially. It's just the thing that's so unique about Fata Morgana, if you ask me. Its colour schemes and how they vary. Yep, somehow doesn't surprise me, yeah. Probably the worst possible conditions. Yeah, even children, yeah. It just shows how divided and how unfair and sick society is. To think about the fact that people even have to grow up into stuff like this, and they still do. Even though we're in the fucking 21st century. Yeah, I don't blame them. Yeah. Yep, somehow doesn't surprise me. Yeah, this is 4 years ago as well. Yeah. So I suppose it's interesting. Yeah, so I suppose this is his revenge, which I'm quite surprised about. And I am also surprised about the fact that when Morgana asked just why the fuck would you do something like this, he didn't even say why. He just said because he felt like it. If I'm going to be honest, I'm genuinely impressed that Yukimasa survived for a year. I'm assuming before he was, well, I don't really know, maybe he was a merchant, maybe he was, I feel like he might have been somebody of a pretty good career if he's travelling through a desert. Wait, now hang on a second, not a desert, but, I mean, he's not in his homeland, he's gone cross-country. But the only thing is we have not really got many ways of telling what has happened to the Yukimasa before. Maybe he could have been fleeing his homeland, maybe he could have been contributing to trade. So he could either be a refugee or he could be somebody of really quite high power. Who knows? We don't know. Genuinely, we have no idea. I mean, Yukimasa was really quite powerful beforehand and he was a sailor, so I would assume that he was a merchant here as well, but we don't have any way of fully confirming that. Yeah, it must have been very odd. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. I mean, I suppose that kind of lies with her sane test personality, but it also lies with the fact that she has lost people who are really quite important to her. So obviously, she feels it would be wrong not to cry, and totally reasonably as well. So I really do wonder how Yukimasa was able to kill the guards. I forgot. I mean, it only takes one guard to be overpowered for then him to get the sword and do a massacre, which is what he did. He spared everybody apart from Morgana. Sorry, other way round. He killed everybody apart from Morgana. Fair. Fair enough. She was just silent. She really was reserved, and they didn't even have an indication of just how much she had appreciated peace. Yeah, sure, it may have been in a whorehouse, which is a bit of a weird place to get this peace, but, well, let's just say it's going to be a damn sight more peaceful. Well, to be fair, I mean, these people didn't even know him, and yet they made better parents than his actual mother did. And, sorry, her mother did. And obviously her dad ran off because, yeah, why would he stay? Yeah. Just yeah. He probably just thought, oh yes, let's fuck somebody, and then goes. Yeah. There is never anything about Morgana's father. Never. We don't even... There is no mention of it, which I find quite interesting. Especially, I see why he would think that, because, of course, he is a slave. Why would he ever have anybody to show gratitude to? True. I mean, your friends have been killed. Well, not really friends, but kind of carers. Yeah, totally reasonable. That is interesting. We've seen from Michelle just kind of like the magnetism Morgana's voice has as well. Yeah. Well, don't abuse these human beings then. Well, I mean, ultimately, he is doing his job. Kill the manager. He's doing his job because he's fearful of the fact that if he doesn't do his job, he'll be killed, probably. So, yeah. Is he doing it because he has to, or is he doing it because he wants to? That's kind of the question you need to ask. He's totally begging for his life. And he's just saying nothing. Oh, God. Yeah. Whoever would have thought you might have the potential to feel sorry for a slave trader. Yeah. But it's reasonable when you read this. Yeah. What a scream. That's such a weird sound effect. He was probably a pirate. That's insane. So he can do this even though his wrists are chained. I mean, I'm sorry, but that is impressive. Yeah, fair. Yeah, and I mean, no way would it. It's because of the fact that these people have swords. You would have thought that would be the ultimate way of being secure. And isn't it funny to think about the fact that Yukimasa completely risks his life here as well? Such an odd motive, though, it really is. Yeah, but what's really quite interesting about Yukimasa is he becomes somebody who is bullied and somebody who is just the bottom of society in terms of, you know, the hierarchy and also just in general how you're treated. You're treated like somebody who is less than human. Like you should just be thankful for even having the privilege of being a human being at this point. But then, obviously, when he gets that sword, he is worse than a bully. He is a murderer. Well, I mean, these slave traders are technically murderers as well because of how awful the working conditions they have are. And obviously, all of the deaths that could happen as a result of it. So they're both technically murderers. I don't know which one is worse. I mean, I suppose at least the deaths Yukimasa gives are quick, even though they are not painless whatsoever. Isn't it interesting? He thinks... You can clearly tell that before he lost his memory, he had destructive tendencies stored within his subconscious, and we saw that in the shipwreck. Sorry, the shipping part, not the shipwreck. In chapter 2. The fingernail, dude. It's because I've read the Higurashi manga recently. That's why I keep on saying fingernail. The finger joint ripping scene with the seafarer. God, so he's totally lost it now. And isn't it interesting? Yeah, you get on that euphoria and then you get addicted and then you can never ever go back. Yep, sounds like literally any addiction ever. Yeah, but it's interesting that he has a good-natured intent, and because he has been subject to such awful conditions by these people, he has the hatred. He already has the willpower. It was just that little thing that needed to happen to convince him to do murder. But now he actually does the murder, and then as a result of that, you just can't go back to where you were before. God. Oh. This reminds me of... no, I'm not going to say that. Reminds me of one of the worst scenes in Tsubahibi. If you've read Tsubahibi, basically Kiyokawa's journey to become a sex offender. That's what I'm thinking of. You do it once, you're taken up by the moment, and then you get addicted, and then you never ever stop until you are either in prison or die. Oh yeah, the power. Yeah, that makes sense. Fair enough. He was a proper murderer before all of this, he really was. He forgot about the conversation he did with Morgana. It's Morgana. Oh my god. God, she must be so shocked. Isn't it interesting the total contrast in personality? That really just shows subtly how this guy has changed. Of course she couldn't. She's probably fucking speechless. Yeah, sure, you've got off on a high, but what have you also done? Traumatize a young girl who's like 12 at this time? But she then asked, why did you kill? Hang on a second. I think I totally got the wrong idea of this story. I thought everybody apart from Morgana was killed. Oh shit, I think I might have misremembered this. Of course. Oh god. Speaking of Tsubahibi. Yeah. They can have their lives back. No, you're whatever you believe you are. You believe you are a beast, therefore you are a beast. God. Yep, there's my answer. I did not misremember it. Oh, yeah. But how did you get together with a nun then? You are insane. You are absolutely insane. Yeah, good word to describe it, yeah. You're fucking greedy. Yeah. And all of it, every single one of these things are the things that have propelled him forwards. The things that he has enjoyed. Yeah. Well, it's because the addiction has taken over. There's no room for humanity when there's an addiction like this. It's total selfishness. God. Jesus Christ. If I'm gonna be honest, this kind of reminds me of something you'd see if you've if you've watched the anime adaptation for Higurashi Go, then you will know that they exaggerate blood flows so much. A person has like a fucking swimming pool's worth of... Well, imagine a swimming pool of blood. Yeah, that's how much blood they have in them. It felt like just so much blood that was unnecessary. It kind of reminded me of that, but in this case it feels like it's less of an exaggeration and more closer to the truth, and that just shows how disgusting and deprived it is. Open necks. God. What is reminding me? Oh fucking hell. Yeah, walk with effort through viscous substance. Yeah. Fucking hell, you are sick. Jesus Christ, and to think about the fact that Morgana had to go through this, I think that is the most frightening thing. That really is. It must take Yukimasa quite a lot to be able to confess to something like this. Yeah. And you fucking got off to it. Well, not really got off to it, he didn't jerk off, but like, he was taken by the euphoria. I think it was unconsciously. Yeah. Jesus Christ. That's fucking insane. To think about the fact that so much of Morgana's skin is missing that you can barely even tell where her lips are. I mean, I think if that doesn't put into perspective her abuse, I don't know what does. White hot. Damn. Yeah, sure thing, it's her. Yeah, sure. It's derangement. Your derangement, not Morgana. To be fair, that is reasonable, but at the same time, I mean, if you had the decency yourself to stop, you would have, but you just don't. And that's the fault of all of the things that have made his life awful. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you go to extremes that you never would normally go to as a result. Yeah. It really reminds me of the white-haired girl in a sense. Everything she says, just the way she speaks, and yeah, her voice. It's just interesting that that totally entrances and it totally changes Yukimasa. Yeah, isn't that interesting? That's really odd. I felt like it. Fair. Yeah, why would you say that? It was, yeah, just the thing that kind of holds back your demonic personality. Yeah. It's just unbelievable to think about the fact that somebody can be this destructive. And somebody can be this inhumane as well. I just find it really interesting that you can tell he's always had this desire for murder. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, he makes people... Well, he makes himself see the contents of a human being that nobody should ever be able to see. I.e., their insides and all of their internal body parts. And to not be totally taken aback by the horror of that. And just in general how awful, and in general how terrifying and disgusting all of the smells and the sights and the feelings must be. You can clearly tell that he was a very, very bad murderer in his previous life, just from that indication of the fact that he's used to it. Yeah, isn't that interesting? He just doesn't have the words to express his feelings. So he just doesn't explain them. Yeah, God. A bit late to think this. I mean, let's be honest, he's going to get away with this because there's not really much justice. But, well, at the time, but at the same time, it's just horrible to think that all of these people had to die just for you to realise this. Yeah, he definitely sounds like the type for a bandit related occupation. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? $3 years, isn't that unbelievable? Not what I was expecting whatsoever. I can't believe that you expect life to treat you kindly. You are just... I mean, I know it's a boring word, but insane. I just think it's really interesting to think about the fact that you kind of have this weird balance between him being a totally psychotic serial killer and then him also having his internal conflicts. It's just, I mean, I don't know, I mean, you just have such self-awareness. Well, no. No, I don't know. Basically, it takes people dying for you to have thoughts like this. And why should you ever deserve to have mental stability if you're going to kill this many people? Yeah. Yeah, physical and mental survival. He can't survive if he doesn't get the thrill from killing people. And isn't it interesting, I said this in chapter 2, you could never get a story like this happening in the modern day, just some psychotic serial killer who has no idea about what he's doing and just constantly never stops. He's constant and he never stops. Oh, wait, hang on a second, is this going to be where he meets Pauline, I wonder? Yeah, of course they wouldn't. And you don't deserve the sympathy of other human beings. You just don't. Yeah, and ultimately the types of people that you have murdered rising up and proving that you aren't the strongest. Yeah, totally. And you're still alive. Yeah, Pauline. Yeah. And isn't it interesting here, you see somebody who... Well, I suppose Yukimasa is kind of always treated as a murderer, and the ways society treat him are just then used to furtherly justify to himself that he is a murderer and he's a beast and he's this awful person. But ultimately, all of these murderous intents were just driven by him being treated awfully. But to be fair, I mean, I can't fully say that with certainty because obviously there is a lot of Yukimasa's character that we don't know about, and that might have influenced why he becomes a murderer here. But yeah, it's just interesting when you're just kind of always immersed in that idea of the fact that you are a murderer. So then you just see somebody who treats you totally normally and as if you were a human being. I mean, no wonder it seems so unusual. And it is unusual, but yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how he reacts. Such a peaceful song. Does he help savage murderers, though? There's always a bit of a weird debate with Yukimasa because you just think, is he a person in need, or is he a person, or does he deserve human kindness? Because I suppose he did go wrong as a result of the world being cruel, but at the same time, and so just how much was it his fault? It's interesting that Pauline is a nun before Yukimasa came, but I suppose what was it exactly? I think she didn't have anywhere to go. She didn't really have any jobs. So, but I can't remember what the link between that and helping people in need was. Okay, so she's really charitable because she doesn't really have anywhere she knows she can go. She doesn't know many paths she can take, so then to stop thinking that she's done a mistake by going into the church and that she's a failure, she tries to kind of excel in her job and excel in her kindness just so that she doesn't really feel guilt. And I also think it's kind of like, it's like Yukimasa's sense in a way, but completely opposite. You're kind once, and then you can't stop being kind because you're just used to doing it. So then you can't imagine a life without being kind. So they are kind of totally the opposites in that sense, which is quite funny. What the fuck is she holding? What is this? It looks like something that you could use to strangle somebody. I mean, a charitable nun. I don't really think she'd do that, but still. Wow. Yeah, will do anything. She will literally do anything to make Yukimasa well. Holy shit, this looks different. Wow. God, this is an angle that we have never seen, and I love how liminal it looks. Just the sky being one colour as well. I think that really helps that impression. I like this. Oh yeah, he has a bed now, that's good. Actually somewhere to sleep. Applesauce. What a random thing to leave. And he just can't say anything. It's interesting that he's totally speechless. Why would anybody help someone like him? I totally agree. Yeah. In an ideal world, yeah. Yeah. Really? How do you know? I mean, I don't know, but yeah, who knows? Yeah, and yet another person who doesn't totally discriminate as a result of where you are. Just somebody who is really unconditionally kind. Fair. God, she's so conversational, but at the same time, Yukimasa, firstly, he doesn't really know much about his home country anyway, and secondly, why would he ever want to tell somebody else about himself? Fair. Yes, she does. Holler. This must have been really, really different. Yeah, totally fair. Must be very difficult living next to some, well, just having contact with somebody who is so normal and somebody who has had such a different life to yours, but that life that is so different is like a lot closer to normal than Yukimasa's life could ever be. I mean, I'm just calling him Yukimasa, but we don't know that his name was that entirely. Yeah, that's really good. So why did he come back? Or is the Lord going to connect them together? Who knows? Oh, yeah, I like that. probably a good thing. Yeah. Isn't it interesting? He doubts it in his head and then he just kind of stops doubting so that he can just pose the question of maybe this view that he has being wrong. Yeah, him being accepted for probably one of the first times. Definitely the first time since he has been, well, after the memory loss incident. I really do wonder how the Yukimasa before the memory loss compares to the one after. Fair enough. On one side he's a killer, on the other side he's somebody who has suffered mass amounts of persecution, so, and obviously bullying and discrimination, so it's kind of, it really is mixed, my impressions of him. Yeah. I can see why you'd think that is ironic. Yeah. Yeah. That is fair enough. It is interesting, the link between charity and God, because let's be honest here, Pauline does not care about the fact that, I mean, obviously this is a really exceptional example. Pauline is doing this out of the good of her own soul, really, rather than any belief in religion. She's doing it for the sake of helping anybody. It doesn't even matter that this is a church. She's just doing this as a means of saving somebody she sees on the street. But I can see why he'd think that. That's interesting. Yeah, it doesn't even matter the fact that the money is stolen. Just because of the fact that she's smiling and she's happy. That's all he cares about. That's interesting. And it's, I suppose it's just kind of like the white-haired girl in chapter 2, just the one person that never ever sees you for who you are. And I mean, obviously the white-haired girl quite literally can't see because she is blind, but yeah, I suppose the theme of the lack of importance of an outside appearance really is something that is strengthened within both of their characters, if you like. It's quite cool. Yeah, it really is like Morgana in the sense that it calms all of his madness down. Yeah, but is that happiness really true? Yeah. Is it? And if anything, I suppose this is a way of getting peace. Just constantly fulfilling what your mind wants. Fair enough. Yeah, isn't that interesting? It is interesting how in both of the stories that we've seen so far, there is such an impersonal feel to it. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, this is a new... Wow, oh my god. So this is what the church looks like. God, I love this art, man. Such odd colours. The giant man. That's hilarious. But isn't it interesting to think about the fact that you see here him totally restarting? It's just interesting that he never feels he can truly become one just because of what's embedded in his subconscious. Yeah, my god, it's just totally him being shown what it is like to live as a human being rather than somebody who is just subject to the most awful conditions. That's interesting. And it's just really, really weird because of the fact that Yukimasa is a psychotic killer, but at the same time he just has so many traits that somebody who is truly at the point of no return could never have. Like this. I mean, he's properly changing as a result of all of this. He really is. God, that's really sweet. Yeah, God, it's probably been maybe half a year, just significant amount of time since they first met. And yet he still hasn't decided. True. You don't want to be called the giant man. Fair enough. Yeah, fair. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And isn't it interesting that he doesn't like people being afraid of him? Isn't it interesting the difference in what these people know? But it's kind of like Michelle's situation. If you know what his body is like, then in this time, you'd think he's cursed. But nobody knows about his body structure here. Do they care? No. Do they view him as cursed? No. They just view him as a normal man. It's kind of like Yukimasa in that sense. That must be really, really weird to say, yeah. Ironic. He is the most dangerous person you will ever speak to. Yeah, and he's totally aware. No, that is not true. But at the same time, it's interesting. It's interesting how Pauline being naive really does... No, I wonder what would have happened if Pauline knew earlier. Yeah, me neither. Yeah. His appearance is what drove him to do all of this. Yeah, it's interesting. I think Pauline is genuinely saying this out of concern. Of course she is. But, yeah, I suppose she just says that so that she just wishes she could relate more to this person who is clearly vulnerable. Yeah, isn't that ironic when you think about Pauline's appearance in her next life? Ironic. Weird. What a weird chat. Yeah. Oh god. None having feelings for somebody. That must be weird. It must be such an unknown concept. Romance to him. It really must be. But the only thing is, let's be honest, part of the reason she is interested is because of the fact that she doesn't know what would happen if she did know. Yeah, but it's surprising. It's just surprising how different Pauline's conversation is to everybody else's. But it's her ignorance that makes her so brilliant for Yukimasa, because he is seen like somebody who is, well, he's accepted for who he is and what he's done, just because she doesn't know. And also she doesn't discriminate against race as well, which is good. So what happened to make him just think of her as a tether, I wonder? But think about how many people's lives you have ruined and how many people you have murdered in really, really cruel ways, let me add. Do you have a right to that peace? Do you actually deserve that peace? But then there's the argument of, was the murdering his fault? And did he have anybody to stop him? And did he know any different? So yeah, it's kind of a tricky argument. I hate that I have both points. I think that both points are just as realistic as each other. I wonder what the action he took was. Confession, maybe? Yeah. Isn't it interesting to think about the fact that... Yeah. It's just interesting how little Pauline knows. I do wonder how her reaction would have changed had she known a lot about Yukimasa. Yeah. Yeah, isn't that interesting? She's kind of talking outside of the nun qualification here. And, sorry, the nun. I don't know why I said qualification. I meant job here. And as a result of that, she is able to communicate her genuine feelings. Because she's not letting her job kind of confine what she's wanting to do. That's really surprising. Especially considering he was on the roadside and in the most shabby condition. Damn. Yeah, it is honesty. It really is. Isn't that interesting? Yukimasa just kind of insists Pauline wanting... Sorry, not wanting to be with him just because of, I don't know, occupational barriers, but also because of who he is. And him not being turned down is kind of like a reinforcement of just how much, I suppose, how different she is to everybody else and how he will be accepted. It is just acceptance here, and that is what he loves so much. Oh god, that's hilarious. Fair. They really do have a connection. Wow. Yeah, good question. Random question. Yeah, fair enough. I do wonder why he asked that question. Yeah. That's interesting. Are you ever going to tell that to her? No. I'm surprised. That's unbelievable. Yeah, fair enough. What I find very interesting is the exact indication of not really loving Pauline. And if I'm going to be honest, it feels like it's a lot more... I feel like that wasn't really emphasised in Chapter 2. I just feel like he has less grip on his emotions in Chapter 2 than he does here. So obviously that's why he can honestly admit something like this. But, I mean, obviously... No. He always would have been able to think this. Yeah, but it's interesting. You're in love with what she does to you rather than herself as a person, because he's in love with the person that makes him feel valued, at peace, and also just in general making him able to live a life of distraction from his innermost motives that are absolutely awful. Like, for example, murder. this music is so hard. Do you know what's funny about this music is it's so calming, and I've had a really quite demanding day, so I'm very, very tired, and I've been, I mean, what's kind of, I don't know, it's just, I work so hard, and then it's just, once all of the work I need to do is done, it's just, you just want to crash out. But then you know, if you crash out, you won't be able to experience the story for the day, so you just kind of waste that time. So I don't want to do that, and obviously I want to see the story through to the end. So it's kind of, I'm really forcing myself to keep myself awake, and then you just hear the most relaxing music and you just don't know how to continue without just wanting to fall asleep. I mean, seriously, this is such a... I've never really tried meditating or just like fully immersing yourself in the atmosphere of a music, of a song, but if I did, I think this is definitely one of them I'd do it with. And once I finish Fata Morgana, I will make like a really atmospheric mix just for exactly that purpose, kind of like what I did with Umineko and Higurashi as well, with the relaxing mixes that I made. It's interesting, there's this real degree of closeness, but at the same time ridiculous distance, because they have such a intense relationship, and yet at the same time Yukimasa, well, let's just say his outer appearance and his internal thoughts are very different things. You didn't, isn't it interesting? You were in the role of somebody who could be relieved. If she knew just all of the atrocities you were committing, then would she really be able to accept you? Let's be honest, the only reason she's been able to accept the torturing of Michelle is because she was in the wrong. What would have happened if she was not in the wrong? Such a weird relationship. Well, not really relationship, but connection these people have. Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. What is a coffer? Oh, right. I don't really see anything. I don't really get what it means by the coffers. True. Isn't it interesting how far somebody can go for their cause? I suppose it's interesting. So she thinks as a result of Yukimasa pushing this idea onto her, I suppose maybe that she's kind of in more of a hopeless position because it's harder for her to become somebody who is regular and somebody who is normal, because firstly she'll have nothing else she can do, and secondly she won't really have anywhere else. Well, I suppose she'll have to completely change this lifestyle of hers, and she won't be able to keep the church running. Yeah. Isn't it interesting that he feels discouraged about this and he just doesn't feel like he can kind of behave like a normal person? He can. He can easily do that, but he doesn't. Yeah, fair. And that quite nicely opens the curtain for the next part of his story, I bet you anything. Yeah. Here the shithead is. God, so it looks like we are inside the church here, but my God, looks like a very, very unusual background, and if anything, it looks really ahead of its time. God, this is going to be exciting. I think what I might do is begin this tomorrow. because I am really quite tired at the moment. So yeah, that was kind of where I was planning to stop anyway, just like see the story before we meet the Lord, and then tomorrow we'll read everything after we've met the Lord in Yukimasa's perspective. Anyway, that was a really interesting story, and I mean, let's be honest, it's just really similar to everything we've seen in chapter 2, but at the same time, it's obviously it's the origins, it's what has happened firstly, and also I like the emphasis on the fact that Pauline is not truly loved, and she is more just a means of letting all of the repressed, well, I suppose it's the peace that he had longed for so much, and it is just the embodiment of it, and without her there is no peace. It's really quite cool, and yeah, it's going to be exciting to see just what the Lord offers, and obviously why Yukimasa is going to do it. And it's going to be interesting to see how Yukimasa is going to do anything to be able to support the church, and that is why the Lord, being an entrepreneurial bastard, takes advantage of him. Isn't it interesting to think about the fact that he does surprisingly have quite a few parallels with Morgana? The only, I shouldn't have said quite a few, I can only think of one, but looks and being discriminated for them and being ostracized as a result of it, and I suppose being slaves as well, though she was a slave to, ironically, the Lord before she nearly got killed. And then obviously all of the people from the brothel took her in, and there was a total revolt by the slaves when they nearly killed an innocent kid. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a really exciting read, I think.